Today, we're going to dig into the mindset of, well, one of the most polarizing figures out there. But here's the thing, we're not going to focus on all the wins. We're going to look at the failures, the moments that literally forged his entire philosophy on risk, on resilience, and why he thinks you should actually try to do things you expect will probably fail. Okay, let's just start with this, because it makes absolutely no sense, right? Why would anyone pour their entire life savings and every single waking hour into a project they fully expect to crash and burn? It's a total paradox, and honestly, understanding it is the key to this whole story. So, to get to the bottom of that, we have to go back to the very beginning of his biggest ventures, when Elon Musk had this unbelievably audacious dream, and the world had a very clear and very, very loud response to it. And look, this wasn't just, a few bad articles or some skepticism from the market. No, the opposition was personal, it was pointed, and it came from the very people you'd think would be in his corner, cheering him on. I mean, really think about this for a second. A good friend, probably trying to save you from total ruin, literally sits you down to watch a highlight reel of catastrophic rocket explosions. As if that's not bad enough, your childhood heroes, the guys who made you look up at the stars in the first place, go to Congress and publicly testify against you. It's hard to even imagine a more isolating situation. So all of this pressure, it's all building up to this one single absolute breaking point. The year is 2008, and all that external doubt is about to collide head-on with a perfect storm of internal collapse. You couldn't write this stuff. The timing was just awful. The entire global financial system is in a complete freefall. And right in the middle of that chaos, SpaceX tries to launch its first rocket. And it fails. Then the second launch fails. And then, believe it or not, the third launch fails too. I mean, everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong. So that's 3 launches, 3 catastrophic failures. They could barely scrape together enough money and parts for just one more shot. One. If this fourth launch failed, SpaceX was done. Over. Finished. And this is where the money comes in, or really, the lack of it. Musk had about $30 million left to his name. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but it's nothing when you have 2 giant companies, SpaceX and Tesla, that are just burning through cash and are both teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Which brings him to this impossible choice. He could put all the cash he had left into one company that would guarantee its survival, but it would mean the other one would absolutely, definitely die. The other option? Split the money between them. Give them both a fighting chance, but with the very, very real possibility that he'd just end up killing them both anyway. And this is where you really see the human side of this insane business decision. He said it was like choosing which of his children he was going to let starve to death. He couldn't do it. So he split the money, rolled the dice, and basically prayed for a miracle. And as we all know now, somehow, both companies survived. That decision, a decision made on the absolute brink of total collapse, is where a personal philosophy gets forged into something truly unbreakable. This wasn't just about getting through a tough time. It was about completely redefining what failure even means. An interviewer once asked him the question we're all thinking, the question any sane person would ask. After 3 rockets in a row explode, and you're almost out of money, did you ever, for even a second, think, maybe I should just pack this in? His answer was just one word: never. And when they asked him why, he just said, I don't ever give up. That single-minded resolve, well, that's the engine behind the whole thing. And this brings us all the way back to that first quote about Tesla, the one that sounded so crazy. This is the core principle. We can call it the Musk Doctrine. If a goal is important enough for the future of humanity, you have an obligation to try, even when all logic says you are going to fail. The attempt itself becomes the victory. What's so interesting is that this isn't about being fearless. He flat out admits he feels fear quite strongly. So the key isn't the absence of fear, it's about having a purpose that's so big, so powerful, that it just overrides the fear. You do it in spite of being scared. So what's that purpose? Why on earth would you endure all of this pain and failure? Well, this is where the philosophy stops being just a personal mindset and turns into a vision for the future. All of our future. For Musk, life can't just be about solving one problem after another. There has to be something more. He always talks about 2 possible futures. One where we're stuck here on Earth until some extinction event gets us, and another where we're a multiplanetary species, out there among the stars. And that second version, he believes, is the one that gives us all a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So, what does all this mean for us? Well, he actually boils it down to some pretty clear advice. Take your big risks now, when you're young, before life piles on the obligations. Go after something bold, something that seems a little bit crazy, maybe even impossible, because in the end, you're not going to regret having tried. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. This isn't about building rockets or electric cars. It's about figuring out what is important enough to you. So, what's your bold idea? What's the future you're trying to build that is so important it's worth the risk of failing?